a hangover helper. There is such a thing, by the way. Believe me, I know it. I'm sure there's going to be some other folks straggling in, but today I honestly wanted to spend a little, what do we have, an hour? 2.5 hours? No, what do we have?
How long do you want to stay?
I'm going to speak as little as possible, I promise. The goal today is really to I'll mention a few points that have come up while we've been here. And how many people were in, we did some sessions on Monday, I think it was Monday morning. How many people were in those? Good, so a fair number of you, so you don't even have to be here. No, kidding. There's plenty more. I have only five topics. But what I'd love to do, I think we're gonna have a couple microphones roving around here as well, because I want to start to hear from you. What did I say yesterday? It's all about you, right? So our goal for this session is to talk about the things that you believe are important for us from a technology perspective. Right? We get to talk about this stuff all the time, but it's important that we hear what you're saying, the things that matter to you, the things that you're thinking about, the things that you're like, I wish you did X. So the microphones are going to be roaming around. We're going to give you an opportunity to raise your hand and say those things. And be kind, be creative. But also I've got some of the incredible members of my team here. By the way, our team is now something to the effect of like 50 plus people.
Woo!
Wow.
And growing constantly. So it's absolutely like, I was in a session a couple weeks ago, just looking in the world and looking around at this massive crowd of people, and I was kind of blown away. I didn't realize how fast we had gotten to that point. But a few of the folks here from the team, also I'd love to give them an opportunity to speak. I'd like to also give Sean an opportunity to redeem himself.
Oh!
And this time he only has a water bottle instead of a champagne bottle to flub me with. I don't know what I was thinking. Many of you probably know Jeff Bittner. Jeff's been around a while. I think Jeff started the company. True story. You guys probably didn't know that. He had said he was here since Fort Glen. Right? That's true.
I wish.
I wish he said.
Sean Thomas, who many of you hopefully saw yesterday, and we're doing a little thing with Show Me Now. Come on up, guys. Come on up. Kirk Latner, and we've got Steve Ledwick here. So Kirk heads up our product management group. For those of you that haven't met, and hopefully you've all met a lot of these folks over the past week. And Steve heads up our engineering group, right? The folks that are responsible for designing, developing, building, QA, and all that stuff. Oh man, supporting all, like a whole lot of stuff. So Kirk's team, and actually these two are members of the product management team as well. The whole point of product management is really listening, and then trying to distill what we hear into things that actually deliver value, right? So these are the folks that listen and try to distill everything that we hear from all of you into valuable things that we can deliver. And then Steve's team really does the delivery. They take that and they turn it into code. They turn it into the things that whether it's enterprise, whether it's some application that we created for search, or the agent search, for example, whatever it is. So as you think about the things that matter to you, these are the listeners, and Steve's team is the doers, and they really work hand in hand to make these things happen. A couple things that I wanted to make sure that we do bring up, because I think many of you have shared these themes throughout the conference. I certainly want to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about Show Me Now, and actually give you guys an opportunity to ask questions. I'm sure there are many. I've been receiving messages constantly since we put that announcement out. Sean has probably talked to, I don't know, 100 or more people just in the past, I don't know, 24 hours, saying, pick me, in terms of markets to go into. So we do want to talk a bit about that and give you guys an idea of what's going on there. We've certainly heard a lot about this, kind of our website. The strong desire. Who has a strong desire for us to build a kick? I won't use the expletive because Vicky's here, but public consumer-facing search site. So that seems like a topic that people care about a little bit. We've heard a lot about CRM and how valuable and important a CRM is to everyone, but we've also heard that many of you use multiples and you're not necessarily working in one. So we may want to delve into some of those topics if anybody wants to talk about that. Enterprise mobile is something that's come up a whole lot. Who wants more mobile capabilities, full mobile apps, that sort of stuff? Did people deny it? I missed that. I was turned the other way. So, and honestly, mobile in general, do people care about mobile?
Yes.
Yes? Would you prefer if everything that we did was mobile first?
Yes.
All right, so there's some mixed stuff here, and I think it'll potentially be interesting to delve into as well. And I've heard a lot about the desire for integration, right? And again, coming back to how many systems do people work with, even if it's not from us, right? You're all working with other systems. What can we do to help you to better integrate those things into your daily life and routines with the things that we do? Is that beneficial? Is that important to all of you?
Yes.
Yeah. Integration, okay. So those are the key topics that I had on my notes in terms of themes, but I also want to give all of you an opportunity to throw out your own ideas. First, let's, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about Show Me Now and give you an opportunity to ask some questions on that. And I'm going to have Steve walk around with the microphone.
Chris has one as well.
Chris has a microphone back there. Who has some questions about Show Me Now? Right?
Show Me Now?
Show Me Now. Let's start there.
I got
Anyone?
Show Me Now?
You've got,
I know
some
Show Me
hands up.
Now.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go.
Saw Show Me Now a year now.
Jonathan Dupree from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Would love to know what it is.
Good question.
Mobile something. I got that question a lot all day. Yesterday, on the way to lot this morning for coffee. So Show Me Now ultimately is a lead gen platform, but purely in mobile. It's for both Android and iOS, which is Apple. It's for buyer's agents. You can leverage it for listings, to win listings. There are a lot of other features on there, and we've done a lot of small pilot test programs, probably over the last year. And what's really, really interesting is each area came back and with a unique story of how they're leveraging the technology for their own market. Because every market's different.
So maybe just for clarification, if you have a listing and you're using Show Me Now and there's a sign rider on and that buyer who's sitting in front of the house does whatever, is texting or whatever it is, and then any agent who signs up for Show Me Now will receive that lead in that area, and if they're available to go show it, they can meet the buyer there. Is that how it's a lead gen platform?
Absolutely.
You want a job?
You want a job?
Yeah.
So
the thing that got me excited about Show Me Now, and because honestly, as normally happens, right, and with many of the applications in this industry, right? How many of you have purchased an application at some point, right? You're licensing something, and then it starts off as, let's say, a marketing tool, and then suddenly it becomes a CRM, and then suddenly it becomes a listing tool, and then suddenly it becomes God only knows what else, right? And so what tends to happen is, as Sean's experience, right? You created this thing with this concept of, I won't use the word, the U word, that has drivers all around, and they pick you up and drive you places. There's a company that does that stuff. I won't use that word, but think of this concept of, as a consumer, right, you're standing there and you see a property that you're really interested in, and you see it's got this rider that says, Show Me Now. And all you have to do is download this app, and within 20 minutes, somebody will be there to show you this property. Right? The awesome thing about that is there are two perspectives of it. From the consumer's perspective, it puts them in control, right? Why do we use ride sharing? Because we feel like we're in control, right? We feel like, hey, I can do this on my terms. I can order a ride, and I can get them to come, and I can make sure that they're there within the time frame that I care about. And it puts me really the driver's seat of that relationship. So from a consumer's perspective, it gives them that sense and feeling of, hey, I'm in control, and I can get somebody to come and show me this thing now. The other aspect of it is that from your perspective, it gives you an advantage, right? It gives you leverage. It gives you something that differentiates you within that market from that seller, right? If you're out there on a listing presentation and you're saying, hey, by the way, I've got this thing that nobody else has. I've got this ability to put this thing out there and enable anyone that's thinking about looking at your property to be able to see it as quickly as possible, because we really care about getting those people in the door and getting your place shown. So it gives you that leverage and that edge, right? So it's that combination of things. And by the way, there's going to be a whole lot of stuff that we're going to learn through this process. We're going to evolve this thing. We're going to be taking loads and loads of feedback about this, but the nuts and bolts of it today are really that value proposition.
And we're full of agents. The other thing we've added in is if it's your listing, all right? Any random listing out there, a buyer can be in front of. They have the app, they hit Show Me Now, and it notifies all the Exp agents in the area. But what about your listing? What about the listing that you went out, that you got with all of your talent and skill? You don't want to just give away the lead, right? I know I didn't. I don't when I had my listings. So what we have in there is that if it's your listing as an Exp agent, it notifies you first above everybody else. All right? And because all of you right here, who all have listings are in NOLA, you're not going to be able to answer the lead here while you're in NOLA. So that way you can also designate up to certain team members, and they will all receive the alert as well along with you at the same time. Right? That's the listing aspect for the agent. And that way, you know, back in the day, I've been licensed for 16 years, and I sat floor duty to answer cold calls. And I would be designated to handle all the leads that came into the office. And that's what you can do with your team as well. While you're at these conferences and everything else, if there's somebody that's not here from your team, you can designate them to receive the alerts and the leads. And that way you won't have any buyers slip through the cracks, any missed calls. That's what that's for.
Interesting. Yeah.
But you answered my first question, so that made me think. And that is for how many instances where the seller might want a 4-hour notice, like 20 minutes, they just can't get the position.
Oh, absolutely. And so ideally, if the property is vacant,
Can you configure it so it's not necessarily?
I believe the question was, what about occupied properties, or, you know, it's really hard to show a property that is on demand or instant, right, unless it's vacant. So that's a great question. This came back from one of the test markets, and again, this is why it's so crucial to run these test markets. There's so much feedback that comes in, and we overcome obstacles and hurdles this way. So what was really interesting is an agent who was piloting for me said, hey, you know, you can't just limit it to vacant properties. And this is what I instruct my listings to do that are occupied, is that when they're getting ready to go out to the mall, to visit the family, they're going to be out at extended periods of time. My seller, as she's reversing out of the driveway, just flips the sign rider onto my for sale sign. It's almost like opening her own house. All right? My seller loves this. Why? Because my seller feels like she's in control of her own house, and she wants to sell her house. And that's what they do. And then when they come back in, they just take the nice sign rider off the property, and it's no longer available for instant showings. In California, it's very hard with our MLS to update constantly. So I couldn't even imagine if my seller said, hey, I'm going to go out for the weekend, please change an MLS, make it available. And then when they return Monday, or if they came back early from their trip, the last thing I want is an agent showing up on a Sunday afternoon when they returned early. So this really puts the seller in control of opening their house and closing it for on-demand showings. Oh, one second.
So I'm from South Carolina, and I think that if you want to really try market, we just had somebody get the winning ticket in South Carolina last night for the $1.6 billion lotto. My question was, is it going to be, it's kind of bouncing off this, it's going to be advertised as a 20-minute response because we're very rural. I mean, we're outside of Greenville, we're in Spartanburg, so like a lot of places that we have listings, it takes 45 minutes to an hour just to get there. So is it going to be pushed and advertised as a time limit with the with the show me now, or is it going to be per market? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That is something that we're going to run tests on and see how it's done. The idea, yes, there is a time limit. It's without giving away the recipe to the secret sauce. It is geography based.
Okay.
If you have a listing that's an hour away or so, it might be a little different.
Well, we have like a lot of Greenville agents, but we are still building Spartanburg, so I think we have like maybe 5 or 6 of us. And it's so rural, like I have a listing that's an hour, 10 minutes from my house. So I can show it or get somebody to show it. It's just I didn't know if it was going to be advertised that way.
There was, I don't see it here, but an agent who did the pilot program had the same thing.
Okay.
And what was really interesting,
Because I know we're going to have other topics, I'm sorry. The awesome thing here, right, is I'd love to focus group some of this stuff, right? And by the way, that workplace thing, you know that is, right? So imagine if we start focus grouping some of this stuff, and we'd love to have the participation. So after this, number one action we're going to do is we're going to take, we'll create a spot in workplace to start these conversations. I don't want to cut off the conversations right now. I just want to mention that.
Question.
Yeah.
It's about safety and security. So does the app actually provide for some way to screen for whoever is the caller, so that we know that we're not, especially with a vacant house, that we're actually meeting a bona fide person, not a killer?
So the question here is, how do you know that it's not a killer? Or some other nefarious character. And I'm going to let Sean answer that in one second. One thing I do want to mention is, while Show Me Now, as it's been created and conceived, is one thing, what it turns into is going to be up to all of us, right? This is ours now, not mine, not his. It's ours. So I want you thinking that way about this. How do we evolve this into something that fits for what we need it to be? The other thing here is, in reality, Show Me Now today is probably 5 applications, close to it. There are a lot of different things that can be done there, but safety and security is actually a big component of it. And I actually fundamentally believe that the safety and security component, regardless of if you were using the other features for showings, the safety and security component is as valuable, if not more valuable, than everything else. And I'm going to let Sean talk a little bit about what that safety, the SOS feature and safety and security component is, because in reality what I'd love to do is see how do we take that and bundle that as its own thing that everybody has the ability to utilize and leverage, because it's that important.
So I was just going to piggyback off of what she was saying, because that's what I was going to talk about. And I also want to just put out something about that, which was, is there any questions they have to answer in any way, shape, or form? So it is safety and security, but it's also whether or not it's people just like walking through a house. I just want to see it.
Absolutely.
This is cool. I just want to do this. So it's all about, our time and safety and security of our client's house also, not just us. We do have the element of scoping out properties, those kinds of things. And normally there's a screening base of conversation that does take place before we're showing any property. So I love the concept, but that is my main concern with it, is taking advantage of or for the agent and or the client's property.
100%. Thank you for bringing that up. So there's a screening process whenever a buyer registers for the app. All right, they of course have to enter their name, their phone number, their email, They currently enter their driver's license. Okay. We're also going to have to look at other forms of questionnaires in there, figure out what's allowed, what's not. In its early stages, I asked for a social security number, and my attorney said that can't do that. So I wanted them to be vetted out. I wanted them to give a drop of blood. You know, I have the same concerns. Male agents have the same concern as well. So there's a screening process for each and every single buyer. When you receive the alert and you accept it, you get to see the whole profile. So you get to see all of that. And the question I usually throw back to the audience with that is, how do you screen a cold call? Because all you're going is off their voice at that point, and the questions you're going to ask. You're going to see their profile, you're going to have their email, you're going to have their phone number, and everything else once you accept the alert. Now, one second, sir. The question for the property itself and the security portion of it, what Scott was alluding to, is there's an SOS feature, and this is for all users, not just buyers, not just the client, it's also for the agents. And there's an SOS feature on there that's activated. So when you download the app and you register, you set up the SOS feature with a unique PIN, your own personal PIN. Please don't use your banking code or anything like that, just it's a origin PIN. When you're setting that up, you're going to enter in 3 mobile phone numbers, 3 phone numbers that can receive text messages that you know that will respond. And afterwards, it sits in your app, it sits in your dashboard. If the SOS feature is activated, what happens is a message goes out every 30 seconds to those 3 numbers, rain or shine, constantly. And we're going to look at the verbiage, but basically the SOS message that is texted says, "Help, Sean Thomas is in trouble. Please send help here." And where that here is, it's where your phone is. Every 30 seconds, as this text message goes out, it pulls your geolocation constantly. So I was demoing this in the lobby the other day. It's been a while since I was up on stage doing a live demo. And I showed the SOS feature. I have my number as the first number on there. So I was able to show this person, hey look, this is what the message looks like. Put my phone back in here and I continue to talk. My phone kept going off after that, kind of like how it's doing right now. And finally when I looked at it, it was my wife. I forgot that I had put my wife's number as a second. And my brother as a third. So I guess my brother doesn't care because he didn't call back. But this agent said, oh my God, you need to call her back now, she's going to have a heart attack. Because the first message at 30 seconds said, hey, what's this? 30 seconds later, because it says that Sean Thomas is in help, please. And I'm walking around with this person in the lobby. She's like, hey, what's this? I clicked on the map. It's saying that you need help. And the third one said, I don't know what I can do from here, but I'm going to start Googling the police for New Orleans. Where are you? Oh my gosh, I'm going to send them to 2 pointers right now. And so I ended up saying, no, honey, everything's okay, let's for a demo. But that is the SOS feature.
I've got a question that's kind of related to the security questions. How about financial qualifications? Do they have to answer any questions? Yeah.
Yes.
With a lender, or can we share that lead with a lender, or something?
The short answer is it can. Today it does. We've got to evaluate how. And by the way, again, as we go through this stuff, let's not think about what features it necessarily has. Let's think about what we need. Because as an example, financial qualifications, there are various ways we can do that. There are other services that we can integrate to a company called Wealth Engine that I used to work with. They can give you an entire background on somebody and their entire wealth profile. Wouldn't that be amazing? If we could do that. I'm looking at a $4 million house. No, you're not. Give me a break. But there's some awesome ways to do that stuff. And so what I want to do though is I'd love to give some time to some of these other subjects. I know a lot of you are going to have questions continued about Show Me Now. Sean's going to be out there for a bit, so track him down as well. We're going to create a workplace group. We're going to start communicating and talking about this. There's a few things I wanted to mention about the process that we're going through. Number one is, from now through the end of the year, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff to bring this code base over, to start to work through some of that, and start doing some of these integrations with some of the other stuff that we do. We're going to be reaching out and evaluating what markets we want to launch in. Our goal in Q1 is to be able to launch in ideally about 5 key markets, right, where we're able to, and when I say launch, right, what I really mean is there's going to be an investment on both of our parts, right? If you want this in your market as a starting point, we're going to need to figure out, does it make sense? Is there enough density of Exp Realty agents? Are they the right price point? All of those sorts of things. So we'll be going through that evaluation process and looking at this stuff. So the more, as you're thinking about this, does this make sense? Working with your brokers, et cetera, right? It's how do we help to evaluate these things so we can come up with the right markets. And it's not as if we don't love everybody else. It's the reality is we've got to do this in some phases and work through it. So so all of us together can come up with that. And I really appreciate as we create this group that you're thinking about it from that perspective and thinking about the stats within your market and that stuff. Let's be realistic about where it makes sense for us to initially launch it, because we're going to learn, we're going to tweak, and then we're going to find different things that we're going to need to do in different markets, right? Whether it's, hey, 20 minutes just doesn't work here, or I need better qualifications for the buyers, I need better assurances for the seller, whatever it is, we're going to find out a whole lot of that stuff, right? So I don't want to pretend that we have every answer to every one of the questions, because the reality is we're going to be evolving this and turning it into what we need it to be, because again, it's ours, it's for all of us to drive this. And that's one of the awesome things about us being this massive brokerage, is that we have that ability to do that, right? As this company that we're all invested in. So I'm going to ask that as we create this, we'll make sure that the word gets out in terms of workplace. If you're interested, I want you to join that group, and there's going to be some commitment on both ends here. The next topic, and hopefully again, find Sean to ask some of these deeper questions, because everything that you ask is going to be great fodder for him to realize. You know, what we tend to look at is what are the volume of the questions that are coming in, right, to help set priorities on the things that we need to attack and address first. So it's imperative for him to hear over and over and over again, if it's security or whatever, you know, what are the main things. There was a little bit of applause, I think, for consumer-facing website stuff. And I do, what I'd love to do is shift focus a tiny bit now, and maybe I'll let Jeff talk a little bit, if you don't mind. But I'd love to get your, whether it's questions or whether it's feedback and thoughts. We believe that we need to take greater control over our consumer experience. And when I say greater control over the consumer experience, what I really mean is to create a greater experience between consumers and all of you, right? How do we facilitate a much better experience so you all feel proud of that, so you all feel like I can send somebody there and I'm not going to be embarrassed by it, first of all. I can send somebody to this, whether it's a site, whether it's a mobile app, whatever it is, and create this experience that you're comfortable with, that you're confident with, and that's driving. Ultimately, the consumer experience doesn't matter if it's not creating business for all of you, right? So that's what our goal is in mind. And there are a few things about that, right? There's the site, there's the experience, there's potentially the mobile aspect of it, there's the integration with potentially other systems that you already work with, there's lead generation thrown in there. So all of that stuff kind of melds together. What I'd love to hear from you is when you think about, well, when I think about this, I sometimes cry. When you think about the consumer experience and what you'd like to see, I'd love to hear you just kind of blurt out what are the things that are important, what are the main items that you feel are important to create that experience that you believe your buyers and sellers are looking for. Can you start throwing out some of those ideas if you want to capture that?
Visual impact.
Yep.
So it stands out in contrast to all these other sites that look like this.
And personalization when we create it.
Right.
So that we capture them and not just our name.
Yes.
I mean, it needs to, wow.
Personalized mobile searching, mobile app.
Love it.
Personalized
Need to have our listings on our front page, whether it's the personal page, or whether it's the team pages.
Yes.
Because when our sellers are coming to us and they can't find their houses instantly, they think that they're not important, and they do get that on other sites.
Yes.
That's probably
Yes.
that's probably one of the things you hear, right?
For sure, and so there's a couple things we think about in regards to kind of agent, consumer experience, right? We're thinking about our corporate site, and then we're also thinking about the sites you guys get as agents, right? And so there's a couple aspects there. Listings is one thing we hear a ton, right? Your listings are important for you guys, important for your business, but they're also important. Showcasing those listings is important to get new clients. Am I right? You know, you want to be able to say, hey, you can feature your site or your listing on our corporate site or on our individual agent site, right? And so there's really kind of two fronts that we're pushing. A, with ExpRealty.com, but then also your agent sites. And that's, A, we need more customization on ExpRealty.com, and we know that. We've heard that feedback, and we're continuing to push for that. So expect to see some changes on the ExpRealty.com front. In the past, and I've been here a little bit, this has been powered, and this has continued to be powered by a lot of our vendors, right? We have vendors, they provide us agent sites. We need them to some degree to be able to help us power this corporate site. And luckily, with our partnership with Inside Real Estate and KV Core, there's technology out there now where we can pull in a search that connects to everyone's MLS, but we can have a lot more control on the front end. How many of you guys think love our marketing team and all the stuff they provide?
Oh, yeah.
They event, right? And so our marketing team now, once we start to make some of these changes, is going to have a lot more input and customization capabilities on the corporate side of things. Now, on the agent side of things, again, we understand that this is important to you guys. We're pushing our vendors to provide more and more and more customization. Now, that was one big thing from our transition from conversion to KV Core. And that was a big pull for us, right? Is if you guys have logged on to KV Core, there's a lot more customization, a lot more things that you guys can do on KV Core that you were never able to do on conversion. And so that's just kind of one step in the right direction. We're continuing to push for more on that front.
Just want to make one statement. There's another question over here. One thing that I think is interesting when it comes down to customization, especially with agent websites, I've seen lots of incredibly customizable agent websites out there that are literally the stock website after years of being out there. And I bring that up because while customization sounds awesome, at the same time, very few people tend to take advantage of it. So my question is, back out to you, because we have all this customization, you get some great abilities, but how many of you feel like, maybe by show of hands, how many of you feel like you can actually take advantage of customizable features within your site? Okay, so my assumption then is, how many people of you don't feel like you would take advantage of customizable features in the site? Fewer. So the rest of you just don't give a crap. Some of the things... See, you're in my peripheral vision, like angel, devil. The angel's winning out today. But what I wanted to bring up here is also that, you know, one of the things that we're looking at and contemplating, and I know many of you probably work with folks like that do customizations. I'd love to create a stable. Would people like to have a stable of service providers out there that could do these customizations for you, that could help you create these killer sites, that providers that, and yes, there's cost associated with that, but also there's value and benefit.
Sorry, question.
Yeah, so I think because of the fact that we're an international company now, right, and hopefully even further here soon, the biggest thing is I've gotten so many calls from other amazing Exp agents that are referring a lead that they've got a listing for, that are buying in my area, for instance. And why it's so important to piggyback off the conversation that we have our listings on, on the home Exp Realty site, available, only ours first, before the local MLS of what's there, because that would not only feature our clients that we have listings for in our local market area, but on top of it, that will speed the process of maybe connecting and referring out another agent over, right? So it does twofold that same process, and it really, I think, brands us a little bit better. And I've got a marketing and advertising background, and I think this will actually take all of our movement, me being able to be a listing agent, say, wow, your listing is going to be featured internationally in this capacity, all over our international website, where other international buyers maybe that are looking at our inventory to come in to purchase that stuff. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, right? You know, we have a fantastic company, you know, a lot of great agents, a lot of great listings, and our site doesn't showcase that right now. And you're exactly right. If we can showcase that and the consumer can see, hey, not only are we local, but we are international, right? And we have this presence everywhere. It helps to get our brand name out there. It helps, you know, you guys land more listings. So fantastic stuff.
Okay, I got a world site, EXP world site. I mean, a question. A lot of us are so interactive, and this is an objection thing that I get when we're talking to an agent. Agents will say, hey man, I like the brick and mortar because I get the face-to-face. This was an idea I just kind of get, and by the way, I love the world. I love it. Wouldn't it be cool if you could go into the world and there was 2 buttons. One for the ladies that, oh, I'm not dressed, whatever. You could click it and put your, you know, whatever profile picture that you have, and it just replaces your box-looking Minecraft head. The second idea is if I'm talking to Boom, who I've known for 15 years, I could click another button, and it actually treats it like a Zoom where I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. Here's the reason. Here's the reason. One of the main objections that they come out of the gate with is not this CRM, that CRM. It's I need that face-to-face interaction. Now, Vicki might be tied up, whatever. She's like, tied up, no. Sorry, Vicki.
We're back to the security question.
But that's really, I really think that's something that when you're showing somebody the world, hey, I need that interaction. Click, click. We're looking at each other. Thoughts. Can we pull that off technology-wise in the next 2 years?
How does tomorrow sound? Good.
Let's do it, baby. I love it.
So, here's my short answer. We can pull anything off.
Right answer.
There's not yet. Close. Yes, I mean, frankly, we have lots. Once we get through the stages that we're going through right now, and we've completed what we intend to, we will have much greater ability to do things. And whether that's video, whether that's integrate, like, you know, there's no reason we've got how many different chat features, right? Wouldn't it be great if we could integrate workplace chat into, so there's just one, right? Wouldn't it be great if we could link directly from workplace into the world and vice versa? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could create, you know, whether it's video chats or you name it, there are loads of different ways that we can create that. One thing I will say is, remember when Glenn said we're a weird company? You know, the reality is, right, that this world we would not have been able to grow as fast as we have without that, right? And I get that there are people that are like, yeah, but I want to touch somebody, I want to reach out, but you know, look at how many people were here, right? We've all learned. I get that there's a hump, right? We've all learned, though, that the world is changing. The world is, and it's not what, you know, video could be great. There's all kinds of things we can do. But remember also that this is a huge part of our value proposition and how we've been able to achieve what we do. And as we do it, as we evolve this, let's not forget where, you know, the roots of where this came from, so that we're not simply trying to acquiesce to what the rest, right? If you listen to the folks that have the objections, right, what they're going to say is, I need an office right here. And, you know, like everybody they think that they need that brick and mortar. And it's a huge part of our value proposition as a company, but it's also a huge part of the culture here. So it's the biggest thing here is how do we blend those things together? How do we make that so it's not just simply trying to bend to what everybody everybody else is doing. Because by the way, what the hell everybody else is doing out there, the reason that they're coming to us is because that brick and mortar value proposition is terrible, right? The cost of that, the implications of that, the fact that how many offices have you gone into that are empty, right? Every state, every city I go into, I walk by real estate offices that are empty, that the lights are off, right? That's an asset that is not an asset, right? That's costing them money, and every single day that building is empty. So I just wanted to, like, I'm a little passionate about this, I don't know if you could tell, but the fact is, you know, every single one of us works together as if we're in the same office every day. He's in Phoenix, he's in California, he's in Maryland, I'm in upstate New York, Steve's in Minneapolis. Chill, Minneapolis. We've got people in India, we've got people in Europe, right? And that, turning this around to the power of every one of these people here from all over the country that are able to come together and actually work together and feel like they're able to empower each other. That's what it's all about. And again, yes, we can do a lot. But let's never forget our roots.
I mean, I'm not saying roots. I'm just saying I want to see people's face and be able to have that conversation. I just think it's huge.
Well, Christy Davidson McGee, Austin, Texas. One request, and with my previous broker, this ended up being a big asset back then. Can you do our website with smart, I don't know the technology words, geo-tracking? So what they did was, if I'm sitting in Austin, Texas, and I am searching in California, the system will automatically read my code and know where I'm going, and then everything else pops up where I'm looking. The agents pop up where I'm looking. So it became, it's a smart search instead of making it a little bit more difficult, but I don't know anything about programming. So.
Fantastic question. And we've looked at it. That stuff's definitely possible, right? And something we're looking at, something we're going to have to look at when we start talking about listings, right? Showcasing listings and showcasing agents, not only on an international scale, but on a local scale. We're going to have to look at stuff like that, right? Because it's the only way you can showcase both. You know, we've got how many thousands of agents now, right? And so for it to be local, it has to be, you know, geo-local for a lot of that stuff. So a great suggestion, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks. Hey, we actually, this went fast, didn't it? We actually have to wrap up, and I apologize if we didn't get to your question. One question?
Thank you for taking my question. My name is Steve Lawrence, I'm out of Puerto Rico. I'm very new to Steve, but I know most people here are looking for different companies. We have different experience. Speaking of mic.
Hold that up there.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. I'm sorry. Like most people, I come from a different company, like most people come to EXP. And one of the biggest challenges I have is the technology part of it. I have a website that's creating leads for me because of all the work I've done over the years to get where it needs to be in terms of SEO. Now that I switched over to EXP, those leads really don't do anything from other sites. And they're coming in, but I have to convert them over, so to speak. So I was wondering, do you guys have any plans in the future for making a widget, WordPress widget that can actually implement our sites, so those leads automatically filter over without a lot of headache?
That's an awesome question, and actually, if you don't mind talking about that a little bit outside. So the short answer, absolutely, completely possible. That's an awesome question. The question's really about, hey, I got all this SEO built up in my site, and I don't want to lose that and lose what I've created. So how could we take what you already have and embed something into it, so you're essentially creating, continuing the experience, but continuity for people from your old place to the new. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Everybody's going to be out here still, so.
EXP, let's get it. Technology, baby, that's how we got it.